butter. The top mines in our news bulletins, because it's expensive, the average cost for a block was $8.60 in June, 47% increase on the year before. Finance Minister Nicola Willis is trying to do something about it, but speaking from Parliament this afternoon, she said Kiwis are not getting a raw deal from high butter prices.
Well, I think in this case consumers have rights, and that's why I've been at pains to say, well, the bit that the government needs to make sure is going right is the competition piece between our supermarkets. And in this case, I've been satisfied that I don't think consumers are getting a raw deal. I think that there is good work going on to ensure that there is pressure and competition from Fonterra to try and keep its prices low. But I get it. Butter is expensive right now. There's no getting away from that.
And Willis said there is good work going on to ensure there is pressure and competition from Fonterra to try to keep its prices low. Why don't we go to you first, Corin? There is a real politics and butter, quite connected, because it's the everyday thing. You go to your pack and saves, or you go to your countdowns, and you can't help but think, oh gosh, I've got my milk, got my cheese, and it's expensive.
Yeah, look, no question, every morning on Morning Report we get thousands of texts coming in on this issue. It is a zeitgeist issue, right? It's the thing that represents the wider cost of living crisis, and people are getting wound up about it, understandably, because it is very expensive. I find the politics of this pretty interesting over the last 24 hours, and I'm curious to know what the others think about this, with suddenly this Beehive briefing meeting calling Miles Herald to the Beehive, and he then gets door-stopped by journalists going in. I'm not sure what his PR team were up to, because it feels like Nicola Willis is conscious very conscious, as she should be, of the cost of living crisis and the pressure that it is putting on this government, with the economy not doing as well as it should be. And she's looking for ways, and I think, to show New Zealanders that she's trying to deal with this, putting it on Fonterra. I think all roads ultimately, in the end, probably lead back to supermarkets. But there's not really much we can do about this, because we're an export nation. 95% of all the butter goes overseas. We rely on commodity exports for living standards until we can lift productivity and diversify our economy away from this, cycle that we often get in with commodities. This is just a fact of life for New Zealanders.
Fran O'Sullivan, tone deaf for Nicola Willis to say we're not getting a raw deal with our butter?
Well, I mean, I don't know why she bothered calling Miles in the first place. If you're not going to have a game plan and you're not going to have an action out of it, would Fonterra be able to make a certain amount of product available and give away a bit of margin? Because that's really what it comes down to. Global price, it's a very interesting issue, and I've been talking with ordinary folks about this in the last few days, and kind of a bit of questioning about the realities of global trade and paying, export prices. Now, admittedly, we used to subsidise our food back in the day, and we had, supplementary minimum prices and all of that. So we've gone full circle. But, when you get to the point where the meat and all the other products, the very good fruits, all of that, where people here can't afford to buy them, it then becomes, well, what happens? Does some other player come in and disrupt the market?
Phil, give us an insight. Give us in the inside. What will they be thinking? Oh, goodness, butter's going up. It's between $8 to $11 for a block of butter. What's their thinking inside?
I think they're really worried about the cost of living. Cost of living is what changes governments at election time, and the promise was that the cost of living would be brought down, and it should have. The cost of living went up after the COVID lockdown and all of the disruption of the economy and the expansion of the monetary supply, etc. But now we're looking at food prices going up 5 or 6% more than last year. And, I'm in this funny situation now as a semi-retired gentleman of doing the shopping. And, I'm amazed that, having done it in London a bit too, that our prices are so much more expensive for groceries here. And one of the reasons for that, I mean, in England, they've got a VAT of 20%. We've got GST of 15%, but they don't put VAT on food. So your food prices are actually cheaper. My wife she went out yesterday and got some mince, and she was paying about $22 for a kilo or whatever it is of mince, and she said, when we left New Zealand, she was paying half that price, and the same with butter.
Yeah.
But I think Nicola's problem is this: that when she was in opposition, when you're in opposition, you say things that come back and bite you. And she crusaded around on the campaign trail, waving a kilo or 500 grams of butter, saying, this is a criticism of the government. The government's responsible for this. Well, she's now the government. And if the past government was responsible for butter prices, so was
Right.
she. So it's a kind of one of those things that comes back and bites you. And I agree entirely with what Fran said. Why have the meeting with Fonterra raising the expectation that you're going to do something when obviously you're not going to? Because no government is now going to subsidise any agricultural
Final
produce.
note on this, Corin, they'll be wanting to nip this in the bud in the next couple of weeks or so, right?
Yeah, well, I think, as I say, I think she's said, hasn't she, that it's the ball's back in the supermarket courts who do seem to be under a lot of pressure, and I think it's going to come down to whether Nicola Willis is prepared to do something pretty dramatic with the supermarkets to force them to be more competitive, and that maybe that's breaking them up. Would she go that far? Labor this morning was saying they wouldn't rule that out. Might be some bipartisan support there, but that would be a drastic step, no question.
All right.